practice? We're talking about practice? Actually, we're talking about money. Trent Williams making it clear he needed one and not necessarily the other. The great constant at left tackle ending his holdouts on Tuesday with a restructured 3-year deal worth $82.6 million. The 11-time Pro Bowler will see $48 million of that at signing. Williams is back at practice on Tuesday as the Niners get ready for their season opener against the Jets on Monday. Here he is at the podium.
Were you adding up the fines ever in your head?
No, I ain't trying not to think about it. You know, it's one of the things where you kind of know you're gonna leverage. It's what, you know, for lack of a better word, it's kind of war. Both sides gonna lose a little blood, but you know, wave the white flag at the end. We both signed a little peace treaty. We good.
Can't hide money. There are many ways to frame the greatness of this man. The 3-time All-Pro has allowed just 1 sack in his last 44 games, some 789 pass protections since the last. A certified dancing bear in the run game as well, and a vocal leader in that locker room as the Niners look to take the final step towards a Lombardi. CBS NFL analyst and host of the With the First Pick podcast, Ryan Wilson, here with the latest across the league, starting there in San Francisco. Ryan, Trent Williams, now the 3rd highest paid O-lineman by AAV, but what he brings in many ways can't be quantified. What does this deal do for the Niners, both near and long term?
Joe, we talked about this every weekend last fall, and I think you may have been the one who started it, and I didn't quite believe you, but Trent Williams is the most important person on that offense in San Francisco, and we know the laundry list of playmakers they have at the skill position, including most recently, Brandon Ayuk had just signed that huge deal. But I would argue, and I would imagine Brock Purdy might agree, that having Trent Williams back is more important than having any of those other playmakers, and all you have to do is look to last season in the 3 games that Trent Williams didn't play, all 49ers losses, all games in which Christian McCaffrey struggled, all games in which the 49ers scored 17 points. So you can look at the list here, and Trent Williams, ever the diplomat, explained how this is business, and he understood it. He didn't seem to take it personally, and he rolled into town with a new deal because other than every franchise quarterback in the last 10 years, Joe, it feels like Trent Williams had all the leverage here. Brandon Ayuk didn't have the leverage. It went back and forth, and we talked about that. But getting Trent Williams to anchor that left side is great news for Brock Purdy, great news for Christian McCaffrey, and for all those receivers that now have opportunities to catch the football because Trent Williams will be locking things down on the left side. If he hadn't signed, Joe, or if he had missed week 1, there were going to be real issues with this offensive line because Trent Williams hides a lot of boo-boos, if you will. Dominic Punis, the starting right guard, the rookie, he's had a good training camp in preseason, but Trent Williams obviously is incredibly important to what they want to get done this year.
With left tackles, we obviously think of pass sets and run game, but what Kyle Shanahan loves to do in that screen game, Trent in space is some of my favorite tape that we get week in and week out in football. Going to be fun to see that start week 1 and not delayed. Williams joked he hasn't seen a full camp in years, so should be ready to get fully up to speed on Monday night. That means one remaining player holdout not in team facilities, and it's one that should be lining up opposite Williams on Monday night. Haason Reddick, talks are, quote, fluid, but nothing has changed. Ryan, here's what has changed. Michael Carter got broken off on Tuesday as well, so further outlines that Reddick is kind of a cherry on top of an already potent defensive unit. How does that depth affect the lack of urgency to get this Reddick deal done?
Yeah, I think Robert Saleh, the head coach, is listening to Joe Musso because he basically said today that if Reddick shows up, it's like finding extra change in the couch because you weren't expecting it, and here he is, and he's adding to the pass rush arsenal. You talk about Michael Carter the second. He was, speaking of seconds, incidentally, he was the second Michael Carter in that draft class taken by the Jets. One was a running back out of North Carolina. Michael Carter, the second, went to Duke, and he has excelled as a nickelback. And at 25 years old, he's getting paid, and deservedly so. He proved that last year in recent years. But in terms of Haason Reddick, the good news if you're the Jets, and I'm sure this is why Robert Saleh sort of joked about it, is that you're incredibly deep on that defense. We saw how locked down they were last year when there was no Aaron Rodgers other than the first 3 plays of the game. So this is great news for Aaron Rodgers offensively if he can stay healthy because the offense doesn't have to come out and score 40 points a game. And if Haason Reddick shows up and gets a new deal, great. If not, they'll carry on, and they'll do it with some dudes who can get after it. Quinnen Williams we know about. We know about Sauce Gardner. They drafted several edge rushers. So I think they're going to be in pretty good shape. Haason Reddick would be nice, but right now, we literally have not seen him in the building since April 1st.
Yeah, you like every tool in your tool belt when you're trying to figure out a 49ers offense, and further in that division, need all the bullets that you have. We'll see if Reddick can get something done in the not-too-distant future. We did have news out of the other residents of East Rutherford as well. Brian Daboll will officially take over play calling duties this season. It was speculated that the head coach took over duties for the OC Mike Kafka at some point during last season, but never confirmed. Why the cloak and dagger here? What's the point in making sure another team doesn't know who's calling the plays?
It's a good question. And you talk about Mike Kafka, the offensive coordinator the last 2 years in name only. Not name only. He did call the plays. But to your point, last year there was some back and forth about when Brian Daboll was and wasn't calling the plays. And by the end, it felt like he was doing it. There was some speculation that Kafka might actually leave this offseason, but they gave him a raise and a new title. So he's still there. But this is Brian Daboll's offense. And when you look around the league, Joe, I think there's 17 offensive coaches, head coaches, and they're offensive-minded, and they call plays. Only a handful don't, including Doug Peterson. And I think Jim Harbaugh is another one who does it. So Brian Daboll isn't uncommon in that sense. But also, and this is what you can say about most NFL coaches, he's a control freak. He wants to have control over what's going on. We saw the frustration reach new levels last year at times with how poorly that team played. Daniel Jones, of course, got hurt. Go back 2 years when they had fewer playmakers. They made the playoffs. Daniel Jones played some of his best football, and I think Brian Daboll wants to get back to that. I don't think he's on the hot seat, Brian Daboll is, but Daniel Jones is. And if Daniel Jones doesn't put out like they want him to productivity-wise, they're going to be looking for a quarterback next spring. So Brian Daboll wants to have his fingerprints all over it, and hopefully he can rekindle the Buffalo Bills Josh Allen days with Daniel Jones. We just haven't yet seen it.
Daboll curt in his confirmation on Tuesday as well, saying, yeah, I'm doing it. Ryan Wilson, he's always doing it. Appreciate you, pal. Oh, we're about to get going. Season starts on CBS Sunday, September 8th. Our award-winning team getting you set on the NFL today. Jim, Tony, and Tracy got your game of the week. Our crews all across the country bringing you the most thrilling moments the game has to offer. When it hits zeros, join us here on HQ for highlights, post-game analysis, and sound from each and every podium in the NFL.